Pop culture usually portrays conception as an instantaneous event, a single spark catching fire the exact second unprotected sex takes place. Because of that shortcut, people often assume that getting pregnant is impossible the very first time they have sex, or that pulling out right before the end is a foolproof safeguard. In reality, human reproduction relies on a precise, multi-day chain reaction with delayed triggers. You could have unprotected intercourse on a Tuesday, and the actual biological process of conception might not begin until the weekend. Making sense of how pregnancy actually works and why those common prevention methods fail so often requires looking closely at this delayed timeline and a vital 6-day period known as the fertile window. This animated diagram maps out the female reproductive system. Once during each menstrual cycle, usually about 14 days before the next period, an ovary releases a single egg. This is ovulation. During vaginal sex, semen is released, introducing millions of sperm into the lower reproductive tract. From there, the sperm move quickly up through the cervix and the uterus, heading toward the fallopian tubes. This is where the timeline stretches. Sperm do not die off immediately. They can survive inside the female reproductive tract for up to 5 days, simply waiting. We can see the parameters of the fertile window on this standard 28-day calendar. Because of that waiting period, the window spans the 5 days before ovulation, the day of ovulation itself, and about 1 day after. Within that block, the absolute highest statistical probability of conception falls on the 2 days right before ovulation and the exact day the egg is released. Because sperm are biologically equipped to sit and wait, the physical act of sex and the biological event of fertilization rarely happen simultaneously. If an egg is present, one of those surviving sperm might successfully penetrate its outer membrane and join with the egg inside the fallopian tube. The scientific term for this newly fertilized egg is a zygote. Fertilization is only the midpoint of the story. The zygote must now physically travel out of the fallopian tube and make its way down into the uterus. It is an astonishingly slow journey. It takes anywhere from 6 to 12 days to complete this transit. Once it reaches its destination, the zygote faces a final necessary hurdle. It must successfully attach itself to the uterine lining. This timeline chart illustrates the official medical definition. Pregnancy does not legally or biologically begin at the moment of intercourse, or even at fertilization up to 5 days later. It begins only when this implantation process is completely successful, 6 to 12 days after that. Human pregnancy is the culmination of precise biological timing, cellular resilience, and a successful physical journey, a sequence largely disconnected from the actual moment of intercourse. Testing those behavioral myths against the actual biological timeline shows exactly why they fall apart. Withdrawal, or pulling out, fails because sperm survive for days, and only a single one is needed out of millions. Any minor early release of semen initiates a chain reaction that cannot be recalled. A lack of sexual experience provides no biological protection either. The mechanisms function exactly the same way, meaning pregnancy absolutely can occur the very first time someone has sex. On the other hand, physical contact that does not introduce sperm to the reproductive tract, like hugging, kissing, or sharing food, cannot cause a pregnancy. Halting this patient multi-day chain reaction requires a reliable physical or chemical barrier, which we know as contraception. This infographic demonstrates why methods like condoms are the ultimate safeguard. They physically disrupt the timeline by completely blocking the sperm, while simultaneously acting as a shield to protect against many sexually transmitted infections.